Hey everyone, it's Will from Garage Built Athlete, and today Matt and I are firing up the podcast for season 2. It's been 3 years and we've had a few people asking, when are you going to do another season? Well, today is the day. I like to think of this first episode as a companion podcast for the recent video on the YouTube channel about getting lean and staying lean. In this episode, Matt talks us through how he smashes his tooth on a ski bike, along with his current goals of reducing some of that unnecessary fluff on his body. Everything that we talk about in the podcast will be listed in the description. If you'd like to support us, you can use the links below. If there's nothing that you need right now, please do subscribe to the channel or share this video with a friend that you think is going to like it. We're planning on doing 10 episodes this season, so if there's a topic that you want us to cover, drop us a comment below and let us know what it is. We really do enjoy hearing from you, so if you have any questions, comments, thoughts or feedback on the episode, get in the comments section and tell us all about it. If you're new here and you like our stuff, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can follow us there. On socials, we're on Instagram as Garage Built Athlete. That's enough of the pre-roll. I hope you enjoy the Garage Built Athlete podcast, Season 2, Episode 1.
We're back. 3 years hence.
3 years hench.
I don't feel it. Yeah.
Hidden by the hoodie. The trick.
Yeah, it's a nice hoodie.
Powerlifting gym. It's a good one, isn't it? So I
It's
thought I better just represent a little bit. Do we even sell hoodies now?
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
Is that a thing we do?
I'm sure we can. I'm sure I can whip
Hit
one
us
up.
up. Hit us up if you want one.
Yeah.
Or hit Will up, because if you hit me up, I'll be like, well, get it off, Will. Unless you want to buy this one.
Yeah, that's got some juice left in it.
And yeah, I've got some worn out vintage, original, real vintage gear now. It's like absolutely hammered to death. But looking pretty sick.
Mine still holds up pretty well.
Especially the Jesus My Spotter one. That is ultra vintage. I might have to get that out. And some just flaked off to bits. So
yeah,
don't talk about it.
Yeah, that's about that. Right, we're back. Season 2. And you wanted to have a bit of a plan coming into episodes.
Yeah, man, that's why you can't talk now, because we didn't have a plan. Look. Oh, look at my teeth. Do they show up?
Ish.
See that?
Yeah, because, well, you just look like you've got grey teeth.
I have got grey teeth.
Because
I smashed my face on a handlebar. Not any handlebar, a ski bike handlebar. So that's a story for another day, probably.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants the backstory on the ski bikes, then they've got the ski bike. My first ski bike experience is on the YouTube channel, but your nightmare ski bike experience was not captured on film. Did you get any film of it? Crashy.
I've got a video of it. I've got a phone video, which at the precise moment of impact, the videographer turns away at the exact moment of the exciting part. But it doesn't actually look that exciting. You just see me sort of go, ooh, and then not slow down, and then stop and cry. My tooth is gone.
Where was it?
Hiding in my gum. I managed to punch it at the exact angle that no one would be able to see it on an X-ray into my gum. So I thought I'd broken it and basically knocked it out of my mouth, but it was punched up into my gum and managed to avoid all the other teeth around it. That's good.
Some fairly precision work from the handlebar as well, isn't it? To get one tooth and not smash any other tooth.
That's how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
It does stick out a little bit. Sticks out. These little eye teeth. They're not eye teeth, are they? I don't even know what they're called. The ones next to your front teeth. They're not incisors.
In between the canine.
The in-betweeners. Or maybe they are the incisors. Yeah, the incisors. Because if this is a canine, then maybe this is the incisor.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sticks out a little bit. and I whacked it on the handlebar and managed to push it up into my mouth.
And what did you learn?
Quite a few things. Don't ride ski bikes where you're not capable. You're not very easy to stop a ski bike in extreme off-piste terrain.
Mm-hmm. Don't
hit your face on a handlebar. If you're thinking about hitting your face on a handlebar, wear a proper helmet. If you think you might have knocked your tooth out, check that it's not pushed up into your gum, and don't work that out 3 days later when it feels like someone has hammered a nail into your face. It hurts when they pull it back out. That I don't. I thought it would be painful. Actually, I thought it would be more painful, but that was quite painful. Sage tea is a good antiseptic. You can get special dentist mouthwash that makes your teeth go brown, and then they have to clean it off. So that's like a dentist mafia experiment, isn't it? When they give you mouthwash, oh yeah, we can clean that up later. So that we did. And that type of injury is something like 0.2% of all tooth injuries. And if you're a kid, you can punch it up into your gum and then more or less leave it, and it pops itself back out. They call it spontaneous eruption. But when you're an adult and you punch it up into your jaw, because everything's fixed and a bit more solid, it just breaks everything and they have to pull it out. And if you punch it quite far, then you have to have a surgery basically straight away. So you can either punch it up a little bit, leave it to come out, punch it up halfway, and they can sort of pull it back down with a brace, or do like I did and make it look like it's actually disappeared. And then they have to cut it out, pull it down, fix it in place.
A lot of lessons.
Well, there's quite a few lessons involved. Yeah.
The key one for me is wear a helmet.
I mean, that would have solved all of the other problems, basically. Yeah. Or a gum shield, and a helmet. Yeah. I did have a helmet on. I just didn't have a full face helmet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had a helmet on. Always wear a helmet.
That's important.
You never know what might happen.
That's important to know. I didn't realise that. I thought that you didn't have a helmet.
Always wear a helmet, man. Always.
Okay. Apart from when you learn to ski bike the first time, and the helmet that you try to wear is too small for your Swede, so you just don't wear a helmet, but don't go that fast. Just do that.
Well, I didn't say you always wear a helmet. I said I always wear a helmet.
Yeah.
That was under the discretion of the teacher that we didn't choose to wear a helmet that day, but we probably should have.
Should have done. Yeah. Wrap it up before you tap it up.
Smack it up.
So, Mum had a theory on helmet wearing. So when I saw Mum, hi Mum. I saw Mum the other day. She said, but if he had a helmet and had the accident, then it could have caused some other injury. And then I thought, off the back of that, possibly, but then all helmets would be useless. So avoid wearing a helmet to have a different injury than if you didn't have a helmet.
Well, maybe what she means is, because I've read and listened to this sort of content before, if you're into sort of karmic intervention, is that if that hadn't have happened and you hadn't whacked your tooth on the handlebar and then gone slowly down the slope and stopped at the bottom, you would have done the whole day, jumped in the car, gone on the motorway and had a car crash or something like that. So it was protecting you from something else.
Okay, that's not what she meant.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard that before. But it was like, it was for a reason. You know what I mean? It was for a reason. like you had that thing for a reason and you avoided something else. But
I think what she might have meant, and Mum, feel free to drop a comment on this video when you watch it to confirm, is that if you'd had a helmet on and you'd hit your head, then maybe like your head would have jolted around in a certain way that you would have had a neck ache rather than a toothache.
I had a neck ache anyway, so I would have rather had a neck ache and my tooth rather than a neck ache and a big gap.
Let's not forget you still got your tooth.
I have, but now we have to wait 8 weeks minimum and see if it actually wants to heal again. because when they get punched up, it breaks all the ligaments and everything above it, and bone fragments and all sorts of stuff. But they were pretty happy that it was actually still there, and I didn't think they're even going to be able to pull it down. I was googling that, like, how do you even pull the tooth back down? How is that even possible? But they have these things called luxators and elevators. Now I'm going to get this wrong. Basically, the elevator is the one that they use to do this, and it sort of gently moves the tooth back into position. And a luxator is a bit more savage, and that's for like pulling out teeth. So I think what they did is basically like cut the gum away, and then they've got a special tool which is just a bit like a pick, and they sort of like get up and under it with a pick and then pull it back down. And actually, that's pretty crazy actually, because I had the appointment at 1. So I went in the room at 1 and I talked to the guy, and he said, you're here for a control. And the control is like checkup. And I was like, no, I'm not here for a checkup. I'm here to see the surgeon because he wants to have a look at my tooth. And he said, okay, then I'm going to go on a break. And I was like, whoa, hang on a minute. I was like, the surgeon is Florian Huber. Does this all make sense? Is this right? And then the guy walked in and he said, oh, this guy said he's here to see Florian Huber. And this guy was Florian Huber. And he'd just come out of a surgery. He was basically on his lunch break. And I was thinking, okay, cool, he's going to have a look at my tooth and then we're going to work out what to do. And he's like, okay, sit down. I was like, okay, yeah, so it's up here and we missed it on the x-ray because it was exactly in line with the other teeth. And I'm thinking, okay, cool, so I'll come back to get the surgery. He's like, no, we'll do it now. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was a bit of a dry start on the old surgery. Whammed the anaesthetic in and got down to it.
Other dental surgeons are available. Florian Huber is the man of the hour.
Thanks, Florian. Appreciate it. He's a good guy. Did a good job. Stuck this on.
You look like Jaws from James Bond. If you go up on a cable car, people are going to get twitchy. You know that. I did. Because you're going to start chewing on the ropes.
Just hanging out the window. Did you see there was a cable car? I think it was in Spain. In Spain, a cable car. I'm not even going to say it. No, we don't talk about that in ski season for people. No. The cable cars were fine.
Every cable car worked. Everyone had a lovely
Every cable car is perfectly safe. It was great. And people got on the cable car and they skied down and they got on again and they skied again.
Had a lovely time.
Yeah. It was amazing. And everybody had a nice fondue afterwards. Nice belly full of cheese.
I haven't fallen off anything. Worst thing that's happened to me from a bodily injury thing is when I went into the gym at home, I opened the door and I hit my knee on the door frame. It's the end of that story.
That's the end of that story, is it? Yeah. Cool story, bro.
That's it. So okay, I'm very safe.
No hospital appointment for you.
No hospitals, no nothing like that. All good. Hanging on in there. Injury-wise, everything's kind of hanging together. It's a little bit inconvenient. It's a little bit annoying because the next day I woke up and it's like, oh, my knee's a bit sore, and then I was like, why did I do that? So,
I mean, honestly, this
and then I just cracked on.
In comparison to some injuries I've had, this is also basically a minor inconvenience, I would say.
Minor.
Let's see. I was thinking that would be pretty cool to get like a gold tooth or something in the end, but hopefully they can save this one.
Like a pirate.
Platinum. Yeah. Be pretty sick. I like that. You can't really even see it again. Like you can't really tell that I've got Meccano in my mouth.
It's pretty fresh. Right. What else? What else are we chatting about? What was on your mind?
What's the big news? Big news is I'm trying to not be such a mince pie. It's probably my biggest news. Yeah, it's a bit relevant.
And the reason it's topical is that I've just published, was it yesterday? Yesterday or the day before, published a video on how I went from around about 80 kilos to around about 74 kilos. You can find all that stuff on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on Spotify, it's also available as a podcast because it's a lot of information rather than images. But the images make it. You can see the transformation. I don't know if you're watching it on Spotify. The video is on there as well. The technology is absolutely sensational. And Yes, it's getting a little bit of traction. You know, just the normal sort of 4 to 5 people having a look. Thanks, Mum.
Thanks, Mum.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Mum.
Yeah.
Leon.
So, yeah.
Leon watched it. Leon watched it.
Leon did watch it. So yeah, I think that's something that we can have a little chat about what you're doing. So everybody can go and find out what I did, and it's not just about the 8 weeks. It was about the keeping that same condition for the best part of a year now. So it's over a year since I started doing it, and the fluctuations and the habits and things that have been still in place to keep me non-porky.
Sure enough.
No, but you can see it's just all this, just getting old, scrawny turkey neck. The definition of that neck, look at that. Oh yeah. So yeah, so over to you. Really, I've spent days editing all that video and putting that all together. So I've done my talking about getting trim. What's happening?
Oof, what's happening? So
where do we start?
We probably need to start at Christmas, where I don't know how many Christmas dinners deep. I was like, this is getting out of control. Multiple deep, 3 to 6 Christmas dinners deep, big mamas. Okay. So that I ended up about, I think I got to 85 kilos. Did I send you a message to say I was 85 kilos again at some point?
That feels...
I think we were in the ballpark of 85 kilos. And bear in mind, I'm 5'7". That's quite a chunky little monkey.
It's decent.
So the heaviest I've ever been when I was actually strong and not basically a useless pie was 87.5. So I was knocking on the door of that with about half the strength and performance level. So you can imagine what that looked like. And I thought, let's try and do something about this, because we talked about it a while ago, didn't we? And you said that you recommend this MyFitnessPal app, which is actually super convenient, isn't it, for tracking calories and so on. So I tried that back when you recommended it, and I was like, I'm going to try and trim down a little bit. But what happened was I checked how much food I was eating, and I was so shocked by how many calories were in the food. I was like, you know what? Nah.
Yeah, let's ignore that. Let's ignore the
truth. I was like, doesn't have this truth. This truth isn't real. So pop that to one side. Forgot about that for a bit. But I normally can manage quite okay to go up and down in weight if I have most things under control. So for me, it turns into a bit of a spiral of things. If I can get training under control and that works, then I can get eating under control. That works. The bit I struggle with quite a bit is getting sleep under control. So I'm not very good at just going to bed on time. If I can get all of those and sleep is in the ballpark, then the things start to work. But it seems more difficult now to do those things, but probably just because I'm old now, to either add strength / performance in the gym or lose weight, or, which was super lucky for a while, could just do both, because I think I was training so much that I was getting stronger and looking sharper and so on. Like when I was riding a lot or racing or with the MMA as well, then was able to be like basically keep the strength and lose quite a lot of weight and be in decent condition. But I was like, this is not really working anymore. So I'm doing something wrong. And I couldn't really work out where it was, because I thought I was eating quite well, because I don't really eat a lot of, I never really buy chocolate or anything like that. I would say like my killer thing that if I'm going in the supermarket and can't get away from it is like Kettle Chips, especially like barbecue one or something one. But that's like the main thing that I would buy. And maybe at the very most, it would be like once a month, maybe I'd buy some, but I just cane it all in one go because I can't do moderation. So if that's open, that's getting dealt with.
Let me press the pause button for a sec, because I want to know, I'm sure other people do as well, what was the thing that you were looking at on MyFitnessPal where you went, Jesus,
rice.
What's going on here? Rice. So what was the
crazy,
rice situation?
I think I thought basically there weren't a lot of calories in rice. So I would then make my food. So main food I would eat is probably like just some beef and vegetables, which you think, okay, that's pretty clean. Then when you put rice on top, I've also got a rice problem. So a bit like the kettle chip problem. Like if that's getting cooked, that's getting dealt with. So I got a rice cooker, and I'd put a cup of rice in the rice cooker, and it cooks like really nice rice. Like I like rice anyway, and I can cook rice all right without a rice cooker, but with a rice cooker is like next level rice, like Chinese restaurant spec rice, really good. So I would then say, okay, there's 1 cup of rice, which isn't loads if you're a family of 8, but it's quite a lot for one person. So I would think, okay, I'll eat half the cup of rice, which is a lot of rice still. It's probably 200 grams of rice, something like that. Cook it all up, cook my thing, put the rice in, put the beef on, put the veggies in there, eat all that, a bit of cheese maybe, and then think, oh, just fancy a little bit more
don't
rice.
Track that. It's just a bit of cheese. Don't need to track that.
Yeah. Oh, geez, you can't track cheese, can you? How do you do that?
Yeah.
Can't track grated cheese. Then I'll be like, okay, I'm still a little bit hungry. I'll just have a little bit more rice. Cue the rest of the rice being demolished. And that gave me a little bit of a shock. I think I can probably.
Oh, Shocko.
Easy. Yeah. Oh, Shocko.
Oh, Shocko.
And I can't remember, but I thought it would be like 100 calories or something like that. And it was like 1,000,000 calories. You probably know better than me.
I'm like Rain Man when it comes to calories now. I can eyeball
them. Go for
easy.
It.
I don't know. I'm not a big rice eater, so I find it difficult as well with rice. I don't eat a lot of rice, but probably because of that reason, that it's like one of those little stealth things that you think, yeah, it's all right, it's just rice.
Well, yeah, because it's just rice and it's like super clean, isn't it? If it's literally just rice, and just rice tastes pretty good. So I'm like, yeah, no worries, just eat that. Yeah. Doesn't even matter how much of it I eat.
So whilst you're having a little look and see if you can track it down and figure it out, I'll tell my moment. Mine was, and I was still to this day shocked by it, but I used to really enjoy having mixed nuts and raisins, so unsalted mixed nuts and raisins from Tesco, 500 grams in a bag, cost you about £2.50, something like that. Brazil nuts, almonds, peanuts, all the classics, flame raisins, jumbos, really, really nice mixture. Obviously, it's all plants, it's all fine, all natural.
Yeah, obviously.
Not salt in there. Perfect.
All grows in the ground, doesn't it?
So I would have that as my treat or snack, or whatever that might be. I would have that, like half of the bag of these nuts, but I would also, you got to have a bit of flavour in there. It's just nuts, isn't it? So I would also have a 90% Lindt bar chocolate, like one of those small ones, which again costs about a couple of quid, 2 or 3 quid, and like snap up some 90% dark chocolate in there, bung it in. And I was like, yeah, this is great. Dark chocolate, it's got to be good for you. Nuts, raisins.
Fine. That's not chocolate. That's not real chocolate, is it?
No,
that's fine.
Just have that, graze on that in the evening, watch some shows, whatever. 1,700 calories for the nuts alone.
Oh my god, 70. So that's like, well, for reference, yesterday when I was hungry, I ate 1,700 calories for the whole day.
It's a day's worth of food. So of an evening, after I'd eaten all my food, I would then go and sit on the sofa and go, I'm just going to have my nice healthy snack, and add like a day's worth of food on. And it wouldn't just be like once a week I would do that. And it's like, well, looking back, no wonder. And I can't have them in the house now, because you know those goo pots that you get that people hold on to, the glass goo pots. I've got about 7 of them in the drawer. So you fill one of those with nuts, you've got like 17 nuts in there, and it's like 500 calories.
What?
So I'm looking at that going, oh, there's more than 17 obviously, but it's like you fill one of those goo pots, it's like 500 calories worth of nuts. They are so dense in calories. They're obviously incredible, like nutritious food, but you have to understand at what point how many can you have? And that's one of the points of the video. Yeah, is that if you're not looking at that, and like you said, it's like you can just ignore the fact. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to do something, if you're trying to reach a goal and you haven't got the facts available, you're just making it impossible for yourself to even get there. So that was why I was interested, because that, for you,
because I've just found it now. Yeah,
go for it.
I mean, it wasn't just the rice, I guess, but it's the rice that I can adjust. Because actually, I mean, it's super interesting. I was listening to a Huberman podcast the other day, and he was talking about diet and controlling diet. And he just mentioned, like, this sort of throwaway comment, that if he eats pasta, like he eats a bite of pasta, he just eats all the pasta.
Yeah.
Because, I'm going to get this wrong, the body needs or the theory he was talking about was the body needs some amount of amino acids to satisfy its requirement for the day, to rebuild or repair or whatever it is. If you eat food that has enough amino acids in, then your body sends the signal to say, okay, I've got enough now, I don't need any more. So you feel full. Pasta and rice and so on, they basically don't really have any in. They've got, I think rice has a tiny little bit of protein. No, not actually that bad. In 100 grams of rice, 8.3 grams of protein. So there's some sort of essential amino acid in there. But when you eat it, it doesn't send this signal, because you basically don't reach the point that you've got enough, that your body goes, okay, I've got enough essential amino acid now I can stop being hungry because I'm ready to go. Which, in protein, they talk about it being satiating. I think it's basically related to that. There's this signal sent, like, you've got enough, you're repairing, stop eating. But with rice or pasta, it's just like eat. So I'm just looking now for 100 grams of rice is 90 grams of carbs in 100 grams, which makes it, and 8.3 grams of protein, 401 calories. Now, 100 grams of rice, I don't think that's a lot of rice. I think if you think about, like, I'm having this sort of cup thing, I've got a funny feeling that 100 grams of rice is only about this much rice.
Is that cooked or uncooked weight? Because that makes a difference, doesn't it?
Well, I don't weigh it cooked. I assume this is uncooked. I mean, cooked, it's got to be uncooked, because it's 90 grams of carbs and 8.3 grams of protein. If it was 100 grams of cooked rice, there'd be a bunch of water in there, which would make that go off, wouldn't it? You wouldn't have the thing add up to 100, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
Makes sense.
Yeah, because the rice has got water in, hasn't it? So for one normal grain of rice, which weighs 1 gram, in that 1 gram there's 0.9 gram of carbs and 0.1 gram of protein. Yeah. In a piece of rice with water in, there's probably half of it is water. So for the weight, you'd have less. There'd be carbs and protein in, but you'd have more weight that wouldn't add up like that.
It would be a 2 gram grain of rice then, but still with 9 grams of carbs and 1
exactly.
Of protein.
So then your 100 grams of food would be actually 50 grams of rice somehow. So that at 400 calories is 100 grams. Yeah. Maths is 400 calories. And I think that's not going to be right, is it? I wasn't eating 400 grams of rice, because a kilo of rice is 1 pack, isn't it? But I think I was probably in the ballpark of cooking like 200 to 250 grams of rice, easy, and eating it all. So that's best part of 800 to 900 calories. Yeah, in just rice.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, well, if I'm eating so clean, why am I getting fat? Well, because you're eating 1,000 calories worth of rice, porky. That's why. So I basically just stopped rice. It also made me super sleepy. I'm really quite sensitive to carbs in the afternoon. So if I have like bread or rice or pasta or anything at lunchtime, it really makes me super sleepy in the afternoon. So that I took out as well and feel much better for that. Actually, it's good. And I have this thing where, like, and probably most people do, this like initial craving that you get for something is obviously the hardest bit to get over, isn't it? Like, you're thinking, oh, I really want some rice, but now I'm not thinking, oh yeah, I'll just cook some rice now. I'm thinking, well, I'll just cook something, whether it's like eggs or some yogurt or some beef or whatever it is. But I don't have that craving anymore. But that's super difficult to resist against in those first few days, when you're thinking, like, every day, oh yeah, I'll have a bit of rice, I'll have a bit of that, I'll have a bit of that. And then once you can get over a couple of days, but it probably lasts a week, I think, for me, in this period where I have to physically try not to eat it. And like, I don't have to try it in the supermarket anymore to walk past the Kettle Chips, because now it's started to work. Now I see the change. I think we talked about this. Now I see a bit of a change in what I look like and so on. I know it's working, and it's like a positive step towards the goal. So it reinforces the action, and then you continue to do the action. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because there's a lag effect, isn't there, on the outcome? Like from eating rice, you never really see the effect of eating rice when you're eating that amount of rice. So there's no like, oh, I ate rice, because that's how you feel, that's how you look, that's how you are. But then you've also got the lag effect of when you've stopped eating the rice. That's what you're saying, that initial week.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is hard because you haven't had the value and the result of.
And it's also the hardest part, isn't it? That's the other problem. Is so that first bit when you're thinking, oh God, I should lose a bit of weight or whatever, that first period of time when you're trying to not eat the rice, you're not eating the rice, and it's the hardest to resist. And it's also the time when you don't see any change either, isn't it? So you're putting all this effort in and you don't get any change. Yeah. So you have to kind of just trust it. And that's where it's super useful to have the thing tracking, isn't it? Because then you can actually see, am I doing enough or not?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can, I think as well in these, it can't be, I mean, it's not, it can't be 100% accurate, like calories in versus calories out. I think you're probably always in a little bit better position than what it's telling you. Mm-hmm. Because your body doesn't use 100% of the calories that goes in, does it? So you can roughly work out how much you're burning, and then you can probably more accurately work out what the calories are that go in, but then your body doesn't, unless they do some calculation app side or like food, I don't know what they are, food ministry side, where they allow for how efficient the body is of converting calories, that you'd actually be a little bit more efficient than you think. So you're probably like, you think I've eaten 200 and you've eaten 2000, I've burned 2000. Probably you haven't actually eaten 2000, have you? Because your body doesn't take it like 100% efficiently, the calories in and out. So you should be in a little bit better.
I think it's good enough to understand if you know ins and outs, unless you're really getting into the minute details of it. If you want to lose weight and you're putting in less than you're burning, then it's good enough. Like those measures and those metrics are good enough based on, you know, even like the wearables. Like I've got my Cardiomood, you've got your Garmin to understand calorie burn. You don't never really know how accurate that is, but actually, it's a ton more accurate than not
well, and yeah, exactly. And the other thing about them is I think they're probably also inaccurate in the wrong direction. Like they're telling you you're burning less than you actually are. So this is telling you you're burning less than you are, and the app is telling you you're taking in more than you are. So you're somehow in a positive scenario already
to lose weight.
To lose weight, to not gain weight. And then it's probably also quite interesting. And when people say I can't gain weight because they think they're eating a lot of food, but actually you probably have to eat even more than it says on here, don't you?
Yeah, probably.
Because I bet if you're at 2000, if this is all you need to eat 2000, like actually 2000 to eat and 2000 to burn, you probably have to do more like 2300 to allow for this difference in efficiency of you actually using the calories to put some weight on. But super useful to be able to see, and just a bit of an eye opener really with respect to how many calories I was noshing down there, because I'd eat rice, like a lot of rice for lunch and a lot of rice for dinner. And I remember when I was going up to 87, when I was really training a lot and powerlifting and so on, and there I would eat like a huge tub of rice at lunchtime and a huge tub of rice at dinner time. And then I was putting weight on, like every day you could see on the scale that I was putting weight on every day. And also now I start to get into a bit of a groove like I did when I was training and cutting weight for MMA. Like it's coming down 100 grams a day. I can see 100 grams change on the scale. Yeah.
So I think just replace rice with anything that you're thinking about that you don't want to give up. That might be chocolate, wine, beer, and that applies to pretty much anybody in terms of you need to understand what it's doing, whether it's having a positive impact on how you feel, how you look, and then whether or not you want to, like you were saying, like moving towards your goal, are you uncomfortable enough now to then go, right, I need to change something?
Yeah, is the pain of the future worse than the comfort of the present, isn't it?
There has to be that initial trigger. Was there anything that triggered you? Because I know we talked about it a while ago and you had a little play with it and then you come away from it, but now you've come back to doing it. What was the kick-off point for this time round?
I think I'm actually quite good at not eating enough. Like I can go without food, and I started to try and lose a bit of weight, and I was thinking, well, I feel too hungry. Like I don't feel very strong. I don't feel hungry enough, but I'm losing weight. So I was thinking, well, how much of a deficit am I in? Am I in like way too much of a deficit? Because also maybe at some point you overdo it a bit and then you can't sustain it. So I wanted to see how close am I and what do I actually have to do? Because you don't have to restrict yourself more than necessary. And like they're quite big deficits that I'm not doing on purpose. So I'm like, before I train in the morning, I don't have, I used to like have some oats and stuff like that. I don't have those anymore and I don't miss it. So that's okay. And then at lunchtime, I've got the beef and so on cooked. And then in the evening, I'll eat something much more protein based and I'm just having fruit instead in between. But I was just noticing that I was really hungry and I wanted to see, why am I so hungry? But it was because like a couple of days I'd eaten like 15 to 1700 calories, which is really not a lot, because my minimum, like my sort of resting burn rate is 2,300. So if I put some training on top, which like today I trained and tracked all that, and that was actually quite a lot. So I was around 700 calories. So for today, I'll have done best part of 3,000 calories, but I've probably only eaten at a push, 2,000 maybe, at a push, probably more like.
For the whole day, or have you still got a meal to go?
Yeah, I haven't eaten again yet. So I would say for the whole day, I will do at the most 2,000. Yeah, so it's still quite a big deficit.
With this recent focus on it, how you went from 85, how far along are you into trying to trim out how many weeks?
I basically started like almost New Year's Day, because I was watching fireworks New Year's Eve in Zurich and had some Lindt chocolate, because I'm a bit of a fan of Lindt chocolate. That's the other one that basically, if you put some Lindt chocolate near me, that's not safe. That's not safe. So that's getting dealt with. So I'd started already that day because I was in the shop and I was like, oh my God, like just getting the Lindt, because they've got all sorts in there. They've got like cheesecake, Lindt, double chocolate Lindt, dark Lindt, like any sort of Lindt that you want, they've got it.
Big
so
Lindt.
I was scooping this Lindt up into the bag. And then I was like, mate, you're going to have to deal with this again. Like, you're going to eat all this and then you've got to deal with this afterwards again. So that's one way. When I was training before a lot, I just think like, you've got to undo this. Like all of this that you're eating now, you have to undo. Like this is all unnecessary effort that you have to put in to get back to where you are for something that it doesn't move you forwards. In this 30 seconds that you eat that chocolate, it's going to taste nice. And then you've got to do, I don't know how much work to get back to where you are again.
Yeah.
So I used to always just think about it like that. Like, well, is this really worth eating for the extra effort that I've got to put in to get back to where I was?
And something that I think about is it's not like an exponential curve of joy that you get when you're eating these Lindts, is it? The one that you eat gets you the thing, but then you eat another 5, you don't get 5 times more enjoyment out of it. It's like it just flattens out like almost immediately. And like you say, then you've got the lag effect is, well, I'm probably going to want some more of this tomorrow because it's now in my system. So now I've got to deal with that craving, deal with that associated like guilt as well. There's all those feelings that go, oh, why did you do that? Well, you know not to do that. Blah, 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 blah. So there's all this like negative effect, which comes off really like quite a small positive.
It's not even really positive, is it? It's like a false positive, no?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't get you anywhere, does it? Where does it get you? A little bit fatter, a little bit less healthy.
Yeah.
What's the win here? You couldn't not eat that chocolate. You couldn't control what you put in your mouth. Good one.
The win is it tastes nice, and your body's geared up to just those sugars and fatty foods and things. Like your body's geared up to want that stuff because of how we've kind of been made up over the years.
That doesn't mean it's good.
You're right. No, it doesn't mean it's good, but that's the drive for it is that little bit of pleasure, isn't it, that you get, and not so much now because it's in so much abundance, but it's all kind of hardwired back to.
Yeah, I think that's the hardwired problem, isn't it? Is that the reason you want it is because of that, because it's this super high energy food, isn't it? And your body is wired up to think, well, I don't know where I'm going to get my next high energy food from, so might as well take advantage of this one. And then you turn into a little cake instead. So to cut a long story short, I basically managed to resist scooping up 20 tons of Lindt because I'm into Lindt. I took 3 and actually really enjoyed those 3, and somehow triggered. I think obviously I had this sort of goal in mind, but not really very clear. Wasn't really 100% nailed down. I was just like, I need to lose a bit of weight, because I just think, well, it's not okay, is it? Like, I like to be able to, one, be in shape is one thing, but it's not really about that so much for me. It's more about, like, performance wise, I don't want to be overweight because it's just a waste, basically. Like, if I'm training or doing some sort of sport or riding the bike or whatever, if I'm in shape, this is a win. So it's not a win to eat this chocolate, and it doesn't give me any sort of win really, other than, like you said before, oh yeah, that tastes nice. Yeah, well, so what? This doesn't get me anywhere. So I only managed to take 3. I really enjoyed those 3. And I was like, okay, that's all right. That's enough. And actually, I tell you what happened. I took 3 and they gave me 2 free. And I was like, yeah, I was like, come on, man. Honestly, I had a bag full. I had like 11 or 12 or something in a bag. And I was like, no, take 3. Took 3, went through the checkout, and they gave me like a free double chocolate one and a free one of the blue ones. I don't even know what they are. So, not true that I only ate 3. I ate 5, but I ate them on I purposely paid for 3, and then I ate 2 extra. But then on New Year's Day, pretty much from New Year's Day, just didn't go cold turkey and everything, just started to turn the things down. But I think the main switch was I was like, okay, I can try and do moderation. Like, I can do it. Because normally I'd either just buy the thing, like, I just buy the big Lindt Ball, I just eat it all, and then I'll deal with that afterwards. It's like, I ate the Lindt Ball, okay, that's my problem. Like, I'm not sitting around thinking, oh God, why did I do that? I was like, no, you did it. Now you need to deal with the consequences of eating that Lindt Ball, which is maybe trying to resist more Lindt Balls tomorrow, or a bunch of training, or whatever it is. So I thought, okay, I can do moderation. In reality, I don't do very well with moderation. So it's easier for me to just get out of my own way and not buy it. It's much easier, I think, mentally much easier to just not have it and not have to think, oh, I should eat that, than to have the thing there and try not to eat it. I'm definitely not a moderator in that sense. So that was a bit of a switch. And then from there, I was then thinking about the rice thing, and it sort of stacked up on top of not feeling that great when I was eating rice or something like that in the afternoons. That would make me a bit sleepy. And for a little while before last year, I'd basically just tried to knock all that stuff on the head, and I was eating just like a bunch of veg and meat. And I was thinking, do I need any more than that, really? And I think I listened to another human podcast, and they were talking about this diet and satiety topic. And he's basically saying, yeah, I just eat veg and meat. And I was thinking, well, if you can eat veg and meat, I can eat veg and meat. So I basically switched over to that. And then we get into this loop of, but then I was feeling quite hungry, so I wanted to see how much I was eating. But by that point, I think your original question was, when did you start this? So it's basically January 1st. I am now on January 30th. So it's the last day of January tomorrow. And I was 85.3 or something like that. And I'm on and off on the scales 80.2.
Yeah.
So 5 kilos which is pretty crazy. So that makes me think that probably wasn't completely like empty tank in the morning, maybe. So I think it's about like maybe 84. So Best part
Is
of
that
4 kilos.
Yeah, I was wondering if any of that 85 kilos is just residual Christmas,
Yeah, for
bloat
sure.
and stuff kicking around in your system. It's like you say.
Man, I was so full of food. I don't think I've had a Christmas where I eat that much food in my life. Because normally, what I like to do at Christmas, my Christmas treat to myself, is not go mental at Christmas and come back and be like, yeah, I did a good job at Christmas. Like, I'm happy that I didn't eat all that food and drink all that drink and then come back feeling quite sluggy. But this year, I went full slug mode. And I really went for it. And I really enjoyed the food. Some really, really nice Christmas food. But I'd not really done that before. But what I did do this year, which I haven't done in previous years, I think I was about to lie to myself there and say I didn't eat any chocolate. But that's not true at all. Because I remember sitting down and caning a chocolate orange in one hit. And that's a bit of a snowball, isn't it? Yeah, caned a chocolate orange in one hit. And then I caned a selection box in one hit, which is probably also the same, isn't it?
Pretty similar.
So, yeah, I was thinking, okay, so I managed not to do that, but I did. And in other years, I think I have managed not to do that. And this time, for some reason, I had a little worm in my head that was literally that worm. And I think this is where you can get stuck sometimes. It's like, well, you've eaten that chocolate orange now. It's a bit like you've eaten 3 Lindt, might as well eat 28.
Yeah.
And that's where I was with those. So I'm a month in, basically, and 4 kilos down.
Sweet. That's current position, 80-ish, 80.2.
80.2. I have stalled a little bit again, and this seems to happen through the week, is like over the weekend, I take a big drop because I was about 81 tail end of last week, and then it dropped down to like 80.2, and then today it was 80.1, and maybe tomorrow I hit 80 on these scales. Let's see. But the other thing that helped me, go on, mate.
So now we're up to date. We're caught up. We've had the journey. We've had the
I think we missed one critical thing, which is what is poking me along, is Mr. Leon, who we mentioned earlier. For some reason, sent me a picture of his. He sent me basically like an accountability picture of his scales. He's like, I'm just putting this here to make myself accountable. And it was something like 80. His was also at 85. And I was like, that's funny because I've just been there myself, up in that ballpark. Let me just look.
Because you then sent me a picture to go, this is current form, didn't you? Was that around the same time?
Yeah, I think so. Because he sent me 84.3, but he'd already been doing quite a lot by then. 80.8. Oh, there's a bunch of them here actually. 84.2.
Yeah. So
86.5 he sent me. 86.5 on the 7th of January. Then 85.3 on the 10th of January. So I think there's a bit of water going on there a little bit, he was saying. But now, so there's a scale with him on it at 86.5. And the last one he sent me, 83.7. So that's 3 kilos since like 7th of January he's done.
Yeah.
And that was the other important thing, I think, was that he said he's going to do it. And I was like, that also helps me a lot. If I say, okay, I'm going to do it as well. Like, and there's a goal. And he was trying to get down to 82.5. And we looked at the difference between where I was and where he was, because we're about the same height, but he's a bit bigger in general. But we're both quite chunky little boys. And I was then sort of 2.5 kilo offset from him.
Yeah.
So he'll be 82. He'll shoot for 82.5 and I'll shoot for 79. So yeah, the difference is 3.5.
When's the goal?
16th of January. So he was trying to do it 16th of February. He was trying to do it for when he goes on holiday. And I was like, okay, I'll do it as well. So we're basically racing for it at the moment with 1 kilo to go and 2 weeks left. So we're actually
a little bit more, 2.5.
Yeah, true. Yeah, 2.5. So cool. I'm a bit concerned I might overshoot and then mess it up by the 16th.
I'm gonna circle back in typical style to something that you said earlier, because I think out of the stuff you just talked through, there's some really key things just to pick out. And one of them was around you talking about how, like, getting out of your own way and not having the stuff in the first place. Because if you've got the stuff, you have to deal with trying to resist the stuff, don't you?
Well, yeah, you have to spend energy to not eat it, don't you?
Yeah, and this is massively powerful for anybody who's struggling with trying not to eat the thing or drink the thing or do the thing. Is if it's there, you have to resist not doing it. Like if you've got Lindt Balls in the cupboard and you know the Lindt Balls are in the cupboard, every time that you don't eat the Lindt Balls is a result of you having to put energy into not doing the thing. So if you start to make that harder I think I talked in the video about making the training like as friction free as you possibly can. So taking out all those little barriers, because those barriers will create the yes or no decision on whether or not you're going to go and train. But actually, if you've set everything up and you've stacked the odds in your favor to go and train, it works the same way with not doing the thing, like breaking the bad habit, doesn't it? So how much harder is it for you to eat a Lindt Ball if you're on your sofa and you haven't got any Lindt Balls in the house? It's not going to happen because you're not the reward.
There's no balls getting eaten.
Yeah, you're not going to get up, get your shoes on, go downstairs, get in the van, go to the Lindt factory. You're just not going to do it. So by thinking about that and the behaviours around that, I think is really massively helpful, because it just takes all those tiny little decisions out of the day around that stuff, and that's energy that you can spend on the positive things. So yeah, so I wanted to say that.
Why does it take so much energy to not buy it in the first place? When you know that that's going to make it so much easier, what is it about making that decision to just not get it in the house? Because even I'll do that. That's so weird sometimes. And I think you also notice a huge difference, like if you've slept well, if I've trained and I'm in a good mood, it's much easier to make a good decision. Like if you've slept, it's much easier to make a good decision, isn't it? That's really interesting. Whatever's happening there from a chemical point of view that's driving you towards making the bad decision, even though you know that's not the good thing to do. That's really wild.
I can tell you exactly, because I've got the scientific explanation for that. When you lay down, your worry hole fills up. And what happens is it fills up and then it has to drain out throughout the night. So if you don't get good sleep, your worry hole hasn't drained out properly. So you wake up and all the worry then splashes into the wrong parts of your brain. You don't need to look any further than that.
Don't need to do any neuroscience classes.
So yes, but you're right in terms of that. Your clarity and ability to make decisions is like supercharged from having better sleep and less, like if you've had a really good training session and you feel amazing, you've got like all of that stuff's come out, isn't it? You've like, I've put all that energy out and now that's better. And it's also, I think that kind of Zen moment.
Well, that positive training session, if you've got a goal, moves you towards the goal, doesn't it? And that creates a positive emotion. And then why would you want to undo that movement towards a goal by buying that food or drinking that drink or whatever? So I think that's really important, isn't it? To like stack those things together. It's like I was saying before, when I'm able to start stacking those good habits together, it makes them all much easier. And it's much easier to keep that momentum going because you're getting like this positive reinforcement of going in the right direction. As soon as something goes wrong and one of those falls off, it's very hard to just, one falls off, you just put that back on. It's like one falls off, and then another one falls off, and then another one falls off, and another one falls off, and then you end up in the roller coaster, don't you? You end up back in the bottom of the roller coaster, and then you've got to try and climb back out again, which somehow feels quite satisfying, I guess, satisfying or gratifying, but it's actually much easier just to stay on that consistent level of doing all the behaviors well, isn't it? But for some reason, much more difficult than you would imagine. To just keep doing the same good thing, why is that so difficult? And why, when you make that one slip, can you not just like, oh, okay, that's fine, I'll just go back? You make that one slip, and then it's like, I guess because if I come home and eat a bag of Kettle Chips, the result of eating a bag of Kettle Chips is now I'm full of salt and fat and grot. Then I'm not going to sleep well. And then the next day I'm going to feel tired. And then maybe I don't go and train because I don't feel very well. And then I'm going to need a coffee. And then that makes me not sleep well. Do you know what I mean? It's like a whole stack of stuff coming sometimes with those things.
Yeah. And when like talking about all the good stuff, and then if you've got all those plates spinning and you're feeling really, really good, well, that really, really good feeling, you have to notice that, because that then becomes the new...
Feels normal, doesn't it?
Like that's neutral now. All that good stuff is all neutral. So when you're putting the habits in place and you're stacking the things and you're starting to see the results, that's all like, oh yeah, that's nice, I'll keep doing that. Oh yeah, that's nice, I'll keep doing that. But eventually that's then
it's just standard.
Yeah. It's sort of like where the whole dopamine thing, which you could probably spend another hour on, is that whole thing.
You can spend an hour murdering that.
That's the new, absolutely destroying that. You could do, and then the other thing which you were talking about Leon. Maybe we might have to get Leon on.
Get a big dog on.
Have a Leon podcast. But there's studies that are showing that if you share your goal, you are more likely to achieve the goal because of that, being held accountable to it, and finding somebody to share a goal with you who is going to support it, I think, and not question it. Because when you see people around you, and I say you, when there's people around you that don't fully support what you're trying to do, and almost see you trying to make a change for yourself for the better as a reflection on them, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to want the best for you and encourage you, regardless of why you're doing it or how you're going about it. I think there's always that kind of, oh well, getting left behind here. They're doing that thing, and that's not something I can do. So who are they? Who are they trying to be? Who do they think they are? And you need to find that right person to share the goal with, to go, yeah, sweet, that's pretty good, I'm going to do that too. Tell me about that, rather than, oh yeah, well, off you go to the gym again.
Yeah, you know what I say to them? That's what I say to them.
For anybody who's listening, Matthew made a rude gesture.
Yeah, I haven't got time for those people. That's for sure. Like, just try.
And it's more apparent to me over the last couple of years, and listening to various podcasts and doing some of the work that I do, and understanding a lot more about how I approach things and where I spend my energy. Because absolutely, like you just said, I haven't got time for those people. But if they're part of your life and part of your truth, they're so massively influential, can be so powerful in terms of how you feel, what you do, how you act, that it kind of makes things just so much more difficult.
I think it's why it's important to have a clear goal, though, isn't it? Like, if you've got a clear goal that you want to achieve, that doesn't really matter what they want to do. And like, if they're not allowing you to move towards that goal, okay, fine. You carry on doing your non-goal. I'm going to go and do my goal. But yeah, I could appreciate that's not the easiest thing to do if you are around someone who is discouraging those habits, or asking, why are you doing that? Oh, you don't need to do that. Oh, don't worry about it. Oh, it'll be okay. Oh, tomorrow
you're
you
fine
can
as
start.
you are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't feel fine.
Well, I look like a ball of lint.
You could love me no matter what. You love me if I was an earthworm?
No matter if I was a little ball filled with chocolate.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's where we are now. I think we are there. We have 2 weeks and a half to go. I'm not tracking the stuff like religiously on here, but it was super interesting to see where I am. I will put the stuff in today because it's going in the right direction. I'm not super worried. Like, I've worked it out. Do you know what I mean? And it was basically taking out the rice. And I've done it before. Took out the rice, some really simple stuff I did, but it's not so easy because that turns into a habit as well. It's like a habit you have to break. So I wasn't like rice was a habit that I had that was bad. But for example, like coffee, for a little while, I always used to have coffee with a bit of milk and a bit of sugar, because it just tastes better, doesn't it? So I was like, okay, I'll take the milk out. And I took the milk out for a little while, and then I got into this thing where I was like, yeah, but that's all right. Just have a little bit of sugar in it. So I put the sugar in. But if you have like 3 little coffees a day with a bit of sugar in, it's also all stacking up on top, isn't it? So I managed to just take that out now. I just took that out.
Yeah.
Took that out. And actually then I took the coffee out as well in the end. So I basically only have coffee in the morning because your coffee ruined coffee for me anyway.
Good coffee.
So now,
I don't mess about over here.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I have like a couple in the morning and that's it.
Yeah. Little things like that. I think there's some really good tips and tricks around that kind of stuff because like you just said, you have a white coffee with some sugar. So for me, I've got my coffee machines just over here. I had a coffee. By the way, I was trying out all different alternatives to milk because of another thought I had around factory farming and just various things that I've listened to around that. So I was trying out. I really enjoy milk.
Were they in your worry hole?
The worry hole was full of milk.
With milk spilling out of your worry hole.
Yeah. So I've been trying different milks. They're just bad. So for whole milk, say a cappuccino, whole milk, 200 ml of milk with a shot of espresso, no sugar or anything, is roughly 140 calories. So if you have 3 of those in a day, you're knocking on the door of 400 plus calories just for 3 coffees. If you start putting sugar in the coffee, you're slamming some needless calories in. If you have 3 coffees and they're all black coffee, then that's 15 calories.
Yeah. And you know what? What it sounds like is we're being a bit maniacal about calories.
Oh, I'm feeling definitely like the calorie police. I'm like a calorie Nazi right now.
I think the important thing is, though, the most important thing, and this is where we get onto like, all this rises so many calories, is you don't realize on the other end of the scale how few calories you use when you train.
Yes.
This was the big tipper for me. He's like, I'm thinking, I train really hard because I train every day pretty much. I maybe or do something at least. I'm active every day, so I'm training in the gym Monday to Friday, and then on Saturday I'll ride or do something, and maybe I'll have Sunday off, but probably I'll do something just not as intense in the gym. And I thought those intense gym sessions were burning a lot of calories. From this time before, when I used to train, I'm like in super decent shape, eating whatever I want, and this is all going great. And then I tracked that, and I was like, oh, so in 1 hour of training, which feels like reasonably hard training, like a similar sort of training we had in the other video from Austria, where I'm just doing these laps of like some squats and some chins and some, just like constantly moving for an hour, 300 calories. So in 3/4 of a cup of rice, now I've done in all the training that I was going to do for the day.
Yeah.
And that's it. That was the real eye-opener as well. And yesterday, I trained, similar sort of thing, but it was, maybe it's day before yesterday. I think it was like bench and goblet squats and straight leg deadlifts I was doing in a lap. 160 calories for like 40 minutes work. I was like, well, I can't outrun this. When people say you can't outtrain a bad diet, you literally can't outtrain a bad diet. You cannot
train a lot. A lot.
You can't do it, can you? Really, I don't think. Like how much you would have to train. Imagine how you would define a bad diet. I don't know. And I wouldn't even say like if I had 2 Mars bars a day, I don't think you could even put someone and say, oh, you've got a bad diet. If they're eating everything really good and their treat was 1 Mars bar in the morning, 1 Mars bar in the afternoon, which is something like 240 calories, that wipes out your training for the day. That's it.
Yeah.
That was the real eye-opener for me. Crazy.
Cool. I feel like we've got quite a nice little companion series going on alongside the main content on the channel with this kind of stuff, and I could talk about it all day, and we've already kind of eclipsed what we'd set ourselves in terms of a time limit on what we're going to talk about. But I think we'll get better as we continue, and hopefully we'll continue to have a few more podcasts. We'll see what reaction we get from the crew. So I wanted to summarize what I've taken away from your experience in a few words, if that's all right with you, and see if you've got anything to add on. So I was thinking about the key points for me in terms of if you are looking to make a change, is you've got to know and understand what you want and what your goal is. So there has to be the direction in the first place that you want to get towards.
Mm-hmm.
That you quite in this is maybe the wrong phrase, but you need to stop lying to yourself. And that would just be to really understand what the truth is and what the reality is. So like we've just talked about, what damage is this food doing? What good is this training doing? You know, how much is in this thing? How much am I burning? How much am I consuming?
Yeah, don't be scared to find out.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because actually, I think it was a little bit like that. Like I was like, do I really want to have a look and see how many calories are in this thing? No?
Poking your head behind that curtain, you don't know what you're going to uncover.
Yeah.
But you know, talking about like the introspective work that goes along. So you're looking in at yourself, going, "What am I doing here? What is happening? What am I actually doing? What's the story I'm telling myself? And is that the truth?" Like, and sometimes you don't want to know that truth because ignorance is bliss. So when you start kicking over those rocks, some of that stuff is like, oh my God, yeah, this is actually like, what am I doing? And it's quite hard.
There's a bunch of Lindt under these rocks.
Yeah, there's some Lindt. This rocks made out of chocolate. But that can be quite difficult, and you have to kind of push through that. So a couple of other things were stacking the wins as well. So it's once you get going, it's like just keep stacking and building on those wins and adding more. Once you get the momentum going, keep putting those things in place.
Yeah, and keep recognizing that you're winning. I think that's the other thing, isn't it? Because like you said, it feels standard.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you let that feel standard, it's very easy for that to turn into poor habits, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
because it doesn't feel good anymore.
Super important. I've been doing gratitude journaling and things recently. It's super important to me to actually stop and reflect on what is happening and what you're doing and, you know, where you're at. And then the last one was around sharing your goal and being accountable, because to me, it has taken it out of something maybe I want to do this, maybe I'll have a play with it. By sharing it, you're actually like, no, I'm going to do this thing now because Leon's watching.
Yeah, I think I also can't say to him in 2 weeks' time I didn't make it.
Yeah.
Especially not to him.
Yeah.
Because he'll be like, oh yeah, I made it.
Yeah. So I think those are the points. Did I miss any biggies?
No, I don't think so. I think that basically captured all of it. I'm not sure. It doesn't really change the points, but I don't think you need to like have the goal nailed down. You just need to be curious enough to give it a shot, don't you? And start going in the right direction. Because I find that as well, if you try like we didn't really talk about it, but if you try and stack everything up all at once, this is very hard to manage all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think, okay, like tomorrow, I got to fix my sleep, I got to fix my food, I got to fix my training, I've got to drink all this water at once, I've got like this approach. I used to think I could do that approach, and somehow I could, but I think this doesn't work. It's much easier to like layer those one on top of the other, which we didn't really talk about. Like get one thing, like my training has been consistent now for probably at least a year, like really consistent, at least a year, I think. So that's really automatic. Like if I don't train, I don't feel good and I want to go and train.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy it anyway, but like I have to go now basically because I recognize that also was something I just recognized. If I don't go, I don't feel good. I feel bad. So that has to go in. And that also to try and work out those things. Can you feel the things that make you feel good and are also positive for you, and try and make the most out of turning those into a habit? I think that's also super useful rather than falling back on the Lindt and repeating the ones that make you feel bad and getting into that spiral. Yeah.
Cool.
Takes a little time.
We're going to wrap it up. What you got to say to the folks out there before we finish? To all three of them. Two of them are me and you.
Sayonara.
Okay. Cool. All right, we did it. Finished.
Season 2.
Season 2
Episode
underway.
1. Underway. We'll get better, don't worry.
Hang on in there.